They'll be calling you a radical. Hi, Kevin Blanch. I'm introducing my book. It's called The Ballad of Cement. I will prove this building right here, which is the 1905 Masonic Temple, Leslie Hodson, which I literally saved from the wrecking ball, single-handedly saved. I will prove this is the most significant building in the Western United States, one of them in the entire country, as I will prove that the CCC, the WPA, was all hatched. That is Lodge 18, the Masonic giant. As Marriner Eccles, the greatest economist in world history, who created the greatest middle class in world history, who restructured the Fed, as I like to call him, who mentored me, who raised me, who his office was right there, who started the IMF, who started the World Bank, again created the greatest middle class in world history, as I like to say, FDR's left-hand man. I'll prove that FDR's New Deal was hatched in this building. As these morons right here, another Art Deco giant right here, the Historical Society. The wrecking ball was going to take it down in 1970s. I had a fit. I took a fit. I got it saved. Then Bernie Allen, Randy Richards bought it, thank goodness. I'm in their ear every day. Let me restore it. Let me restore it. They're like, can't be done, can't be done, can't be done. It's pitted this thing. It's been coated over 4 times, once in the 30s, once in the 50s, once in the 70s, and then they synthetic gray shit all. I could do it. I could do it. I suspended from a rope in 2009, and I hand chiseled every square inch of it. 12 hours a day, 7 days a week for 4 months. My arms, I couldn't sleep at night. Then, after I got a little naked, pits in it this big, I didn't replace stone. Oh yeah, my plastering skills, my secret sauce is Michelangelo himself. I put it together and restored this. I will prove right here on this sacred said piece of real estate, the most progressive, the progressive giant city in all of America. This city, Ogden, Utah, the Junction City, the progressive city. I've watched it die in Art Deco decay in front of the rich. As I said, all the girls from Weber counties, I went to Weber High. I will prove Fawn McKay, who I knew personally, my favorite writer, the most brilliant, accomplished person to ever walk out of this county, gets no recognition. Bernard DeVoto lived right around the corner. Yeah, him, across from him, right around the corner. Right here, right here. John Browning's shop, where the machine gun was invented. And when Ferdinand was a Black Hand, murdered him, committed the assassination, in Europe, it was done with the Browning gun. I will talk about, did Browning sell to both sides? The machine gun, as they transformed right there into one of the wealthiest families in the world. As I have this old quilt that my grandmother made me for me when I was 8 years old. As Abraham Hunsaker IV is my grandfather. Ike Potter, the great thing, is my great-great-grandfather. That quilt, I've kept it the whole time, literally, has the blood and the sweat off the great sand pits on the ancient lake floors they washed color, and those great iconic giant Brownings, Eccles, Wattises, their DNA is all over my body. As I did not live this, I did not eat this, I did not just sleep this, I slept with this. This is it. This is my life. I've crawled in every one of these buildings all over, as I have been a plaster for 35 years. I've been in the Wattis house and worked all over it. I did the tree in the Children's Museum. I restored this magnificent building. The Browning ceilings, that's all my work. I was working on that building when I got the news my father was dying. Right here, where this building, this red building is right now. That's the old Orpheum Theater, the #1 first building ever put on the historical list in Utah. As Big D restored the old Ben Lomond, threw stuff out of the roof on purpose with a wink and a nod and smashed it down and tore it out. As William Hodgkins walked out of that building right here, and he looked right there. Right there, there's Ben Lomond Peak, named after Marriner Eccles families. They came from the slums of Glasgow, Scotland, penniless, and turned themselves into the most powerful, richest family in the world in just 30 years. David Eccles, his father, who came with the McKays, Fawn McKay, the greatest writer in Western history, who came out of the same high school as me, as her name is not even mentioned because of the Mormon dynamic, as her uncle was David O. McKay, the white, brilliant genius suit from here, right here, as he walked out and drew that on a napkin. As the Marx Brothers, George Marx so much said it's their favorite place to perform. This was the great, gigantic, progressive, iconic city. Here, as Marriner, everybody says, oh, how come his family doesn't protect him. I got in an argument with a BYU historian the other day. I'm like, Spencer, those guys are not his kids, as they have rode his wave of his name and his massive multi-hundreds of millions as they left the endowment. The Wattis building. You go in the MoMA in San Francisco, the Phyllis Wattis, right here. Right here, she lived right there. This is the giant progressive. As the streets, this is Washington Boulevard. They were named after presidents. The city council took them down and named them after presidents of the United States. I will prove in my book, as the nuclear cloud went over the top of us and murdered my father. I was working right there when it happened. I will prove this building right here. The 1905 Leslie Hodgson that I saved both times single-handedly by myself. I will prove in my book, The Ballad of Cement, as Mr. Hinckley's building is just being torn down right now, as Teddy used to come to this, Roosevelt to this town. So close friends with the Hinkleys, the Eccles, the McKays. Stay up in our beautiful Ogden Canyon. And they had a place, it's called Eden, the little town up there in our beautiful county. They would call it the Garden of Eden. That's where he stayed. That's where the ties came, as it was Marriner Eccles. FDR says it. And Marriner Eccles, first line of his book, called himself the Great Socialist, as he created the great socialistic society in all of humanity, the United States of America, from 1934 to 1980, the greatest socialist country in the history, the strongest middle class in the history of the world. I've heard Bernanke and Greenspan say many times, oh, the policies of FDR and Marriner Eccles failed. Oh, really? Oh, really? They fucking failed? As they created the greatest, strongest middle class in world history through their protectionism policies, through their progressive policies. As you think it's coincidence we all drove those magnificent GMs and Fords, as Swift Meat, the meat cutters right here, as the #1 slaughterhouse in the world was right there. There were more animals slaughtered right there, right here. 50,000 people a day would come through this train depot. This was the giant progressive, the richest cities, as I like to say, the girls. They were rich, they were beautiful, they were smart in this beautiful place. Now just beautiful. As the wealth has left, as I've stayed here and watched this beautiful progressive giant in decay, this Art Deco decay, my book, in a romantic tale, will tell the tale of the nuclear cloud flying over us and murdering my father, as it did so many, as why we have the #1 incident of autism, why we have the #1 incident of cancer, including my own cancer. I will pour into detail in all of this. This WPA, the CCC, the New Deal, Keynesian economics was not invented by Jane Maynard Keynes. He takes credit. It disgusts me. I always say it like this. John Maynard Keynes to Marriner Eccles was like Luke Gehrig to Babe Ruth. Marriner Eccles invented demand-side economics right here in that building. Right there in that building. I've been up in the side of the top of it. I opened those arches all up. They're still there. The light fixtures are still there. John Browning's shop right there, as he transformed all of Europe with Marriner and David Eccles' money. The Wattis Construction, the biggest construction company on earth to this day, as General Eccles bought him. Phyllis Wattis, right here. Leslie Hodgson, the great genius, with the first building he ever did as a 26-year-old, right there. As when I was hammering and chiseling away on that building, and it was so painful and so hard to freaking get through it, and I knew it was so difficult to do it, but I had Leslie Hodgson's spirit, I had Marriner Eccles' spirit with me the whole time. I saved this building. I will tell the real tale of the economic tale, of the Mormon tale, because this is the great Mormon American experience and experiment. And I have lived it. My DNA, my bloodlines on all four are so infamous. The stories of this town are so infamous. At Brimhall himself, the great talker, who could speak all 5 tribes. He, right here, all of them right here, as Freidenikers. Not Freednickers, Freidenikers. That's where it all started. Freidenikers, not Freidenikers, free thinking, the old Masonic word. No, Freidenikers, FR with different spelling. Fleeing impoverished conditions. Their secret society. Both my grandpas were in it. Mr. Hinckley was in it. Marriner Eccles was in it. That's where the idea for the New Deal come. That's where the CCC, the WP, as FDR says himself, when I knew I was going to win the president, the first call, the first telegram went to Marriner Eccles in August. As the the IMF The World Bank was started right there on 24th and Washington. John Brown's shop right there. The Great Orphan Theater right there. The great, incredible Masonic 1905 Lodge 18 Temple where Marriner created the New Deal. Right there in that building. I was going to read this poem called The Old Attorney. As a boy I lived, but I won't read it. It's in my book. As there's an old attorney, he watched me the whole time. He says, Kevin, if you do not pull this off, you will have to leave this town. Everybody's rooting for you to fail. The only one rooting for you to win is Marriner and Leslie Hodson himself. The old man would walk by every day. So would the old owners, and everybody doubted me. I couldn't do it. It's not going to do it. It's not going to happen. He says, you got to strip down. Let's see the art now. And I put it back together. He hugged me, and he was not the hugging kind. He had a tear in his eye, and he says, Kevin, don't ever let anybody ever knock you down in this town, because the nail that sticks up gets hammered down, and that is what happened to me. Don't ever let this happen to you, because you are the artist. You are the artists. He got hit by a car 1 month later, right there in this crossfire. As we went from these, Marriner Eccles, as it was Spencer who was going to get the job, and it was the great John Bircher himself, named Alan Greenspan in 1987, 25 years ago, almost to the day right now. As we went from the great progressive middle class, all ran by Marriner Eccles out of this building right here. All of it, the greatest middle class world, protectionism out the yin-yang. Freaking the average Ogdenite making $106,000 in today's dollars. We went from these to these. Keynesian economics, which is demand side economics, was invented in that building by Marriner Eccles. And his family disgusts me by not standing up from him, as the Mormon community freaking has annihilated him. Spencer and all those guys, they are not his kids. His kid drank himself to death up there on the freaking corner. He has no offspring, none. They wrote his name into fortunes and wealth, and they do not protect him. I will protect him, as both my grandpas were friends with him, as I sat right next to Bobby Kennedy as an 8-year-old on the invitation of Marriner. As he called me the little Danish twins, he used to call me, and my twin sister. He was an incredible man, and I will give him his dues, and I will expose the Browns. Were they still on to both sides? Read my book. Wallace Construction, the great progressive town, right here, the Junction City, Ogden, Utah, right here. Kevin Blanch. This is the Ballad of Cement.